Welcome to the Legally Armed America Gun Garage.
Hey there, friends and family. We're doing a little bit of body work today. Not anything major. We got this FN scar in, and beautiful weapon, awesome weapon. There's some really cool information behind this thing, how it was developed and all that, and we're going to go into that when we have our full review on the scar very, very soon. However, there was one thing about this particular weapon that I'm not real fond of, and it's because of my reach. Some of you guys may have the same issue out there. If you're reaching for the gun, if you notice, see where my left hand is, I prefer to reach out a little bit further out front. Well, if you notice, you've got your barrel right there. Cool thing is, FN, they make their own products, their own aftermarket products. You're not buying some knockoff product or something like that. It's actual FN product. This is that fore-end extension that they make. Fore-end extension goes right here, of course. Gives you, when you're reaching down here and you're firing the weapon, you actually have a full grip a little bit further down rather than putting your hand on the barrel, of course. And with me not being the most seasoned shooter in the world, I would much prefer have this a little bit additional amount of foregrip down there to hold on to, rather than always having to be conscious that I have the barrel right there. Not only that, and this is just a little bit, this is a very minor thing, but it could be a major thing depending on how you hold your hand. This thing has a reciprocating charging handle right here. This thing runs back and forth when this gun is being fired. If you have your hand too far back, God forbid you're holding it like this reciprocating charging handle is going to do a number on your thumb. So again, I guess to keep you from being paranoid when you grab the weapon, by having that extended foregrip up there, I think it's going to make me shoot a little more comfortable, but it may give a person a little bit more peace of mind also. I'm certainly not saying there's anything wrong with this weapon, but that is one thing that I think is really, really important for anybody out there to know, that you have the option of having some good aftermarket products that are made by FN for this weapon. We have already checked this thing, obviously, to see if it's loaded. It's not, nothing in the chamber. We're going to go ahead and do a number on this thing and mount this thing and see how hard it is to mount it on there. And I know it's going to add a little bit of weight to the front end of it, but not much. This thing is pretty light. So let's get started. The package came with everything you need. It came with all of the mounting hardware, a torque wrench. It came with rail clamp and a mounting block, and of course the tactical fore-end extension. So we were ready to begin. Naturally enforcing safety, as we always do, we had confirmed that the weapon was not loaded and it was on safety just in case, but we also use a little common sense, so we're hoping everybody at home does, or anyone else that tries this does the same anytime you're working on a weapon. The first thing to do is to install the mounting block into the rear of the fore-end extension. It's a little bit of a tight fit. You do have to work the fore-end extension to widen it just a hair in order to slide the mounting block into, but it does fit in nicely, and as you can see, it sets in there nice and flush with the whole back side of this thing so that it doesn't protrude at all. Then you secure the mounting block into the extension by using the 3 countersink screws that come with the package. It's a pretty easy fit, and the screws thread pretty effortlessly. Now they ask that you install the rail clamp onto the extension and leave the 2 countersink screws loose. We're going to come back to this part in a few minutes because this is where the plan is not exactly clear. They ask that you insert the 2 screws through the upper mounting holes and then slide the rail assembly clamp in first over the barrel. Now, the screws are a little bit of a challenge to hold in place because nothing is holding them in place. You have to hold them in place with your fingers. But that's not where the, I guess you could call it, left turn takes place. The thread adapters are expected at this point to be put onto the back side of the frame, and then the threaded screws that were loose that we were holding in place when we put the fore-end extension on are supposed to thread directly into that. The problem is the holes don't match up because the rail clamp at the very bottom, the screws are out of alignment, and it does not allow everything to line up perfectly. So we made a quick change of plans. We simply took the mounting rail off since the holes were a little bit off center on that anyway. We mounted the actual fore-end onto the weapon itself using the thread adapter and the holes first to get it in alignment, so we could get an idea of how much material we needed to, and I know this is going to make the FN engineer shudder, so we could see how much metal we needed to take off of the rail clamp. Now we could see how much material we needed to gently file off of the holes of the rail clamp. And then we did the unthinkable. we took a hole file and gently filed around just the parts of the hole that needed a little bit more room. Now, still a little bit of a tight fit because we didn't want to overdo the file. The rail clamp fit perfectly on the rail extension. Both of the screws on each side threaded in nicely and fit really snug to the weapon. We then went around to each one of our mounting screws to make sure each one was nice and snug on the extension. And we're done. As you can see, it turned out to be a nice fit, looks good, and it's very functional as far as additional room to hold on to and accessorize if that's your thing. Well, that's it. Maybe easier said than done. Sometimes the instructions are a good guide to go by, but it's not always absolute whenever you're putting these things together, because let's face it, sometimes the holes just don't line up perfectly. I would not recommend getting a little too aggressive with the file, of course. I was pretty tender with it, not to take too much material off because I wasn't looking to take a ton off. I wanted that screw just to barely be able to go in there and grab the tip of those threads. So that's all I did. And if you see here, notice now I can reach out front, where before the most I could reach was right here. Now whenever I bring this thing up, I can hold it out like this. So maybe it's somebody, you know, if you have a little bit longer arms, this might be the thing for you. Or if you're shooting some kind of competition where you really want to get out front of this thing, maybe this is the foregrip that you want to put on here, the fore-end rather. But I like it. It's also got more room, of course. It makes everything monolithic and gives you more room to put accessories if you want them. I won't be mounting anything on here. This is mainly just for protection on the barrel and to give me really something else to grab hold to further out front. But I like it.
I like to picture Jesus as a ninja fighting off evil samurai.